FPUC, it's in the third stimulus package, but it ain't so retro as promised during the campaign trail. The question is whether he's gonna wake up. The President of the United States had said during the transition papers in December, FPUC retro $600 a week from July to January. Then, a few weeks ago, he said, no, I'm gonna do $400 a week. And I'll do $400 a week from January to September. Yesterday, and the day before, I debuted the third stimulus package bill, and suddenly the FPUC is $400 a week from March to August. Ultimately, you have the ability to change the language. All this week, congressional leaders have been able to change language, put things in that were taken out, change numbers, change eligibility. This is an important video for you to watch because it explains how FPUC works, how you were owed FPUC from July there to September, and how people were promising you this over and over again. It's important to understand how you get FPUC, what is FPUC, what is UI, and what is PUA. Enjoy this Overnights LA video explaining all the nuances of how to get FPUC retro. New indication suggests you could get $600 under an FPUC extension being negotiated. Hey everybody, good afternoon and welcome to Afternoons with LA Late. This is our third in a four-part block of programming that started with the check, went on to hazard pay, and continues after this to rent assistance. This one's about FPUC. That's $600 from the federal government, which has already expired. The Democrats proposed to extend it at $600 all the way to January 2021, but the Republicans don't want to. But what happened overnight? We detailed on Mornings with LA Late, and it's really bombshell details. More indications suggest that the Republicans are likely not to hold firm on that $200 or less bill and are likely to default to $600. Let me tell you what's going on. The Republicans' proposal is not per se $200. It's actually quite worse. It proposes to pay $200 per week for the weeks of August. That's 4 weeks. And then, after that, the amount will be determined by the states based upon a calculation. The problem is that the states can't do that calculation, more about that in a second, and that the states can ask for release not to even pay a penny. So in essence, come September 1st, the Republicans will not even pay you a penny for FPUC and would be dead upon arrival. So where are we this morning? Well, big indications suggest today that $600 is likely the landing spot. And I'm going to tell you why. There's several reasons. The first one is swing states. A series of new polls released today suggest that when people were polled in swing states for the fall election, whether they would support the Republican or the Democratic proposal, nearly 100% of them said they would support $600 a week and that no one supported the Republican proposal. These are states that are critical to either Biden or Trump winning in the fall presidential campaign. And to isolate those voters would be critical and political suicide. That's the real first indication. Second, there's new reports that Republicans themselves that were not involved in the drafting of the bill don't like the $200 as well. A lot of Republicans have come out, and a lot of them are economists. They're joined with economists on Wall Street who say that $200 or less will cause economic calamity. Why? Because undervaluing it, under-providing to people during times of pandemic could be a risky error, and if you do the math wrong and don't give people enough benefits, more enormous economic catastrophe will happen. In fact, another report which came out of one of the feds yesterday suggests that the Republicans are totally incorrect. Allegedly overcompensating someone for FPUC actually does not deter them from going back to work, but actually encourages them to go back to work. There was no correlation found by the Federal Reserve in a new report that spending too much money on FPUC, an extra $100 of overspent money would deter people from getting back to work. It actually found to the contrary. Now, here's the next point that I detail on Mornings with LALate, and this is really the likely one that's going to kill the Republicans' position about FPUC. The states can't do it. They literally cannot do it with their computers, and they don't have the information to do it as well. First, let me go over the information. This is it takes a second to understand where this is coming from. Steve Mnuchin wants the states starting September, not August. August is $200 a week. Steve Mnuchin wants the states starting September to pay you a certain amount of FPUC based upon your federal tax return listing of income of 2019 XYZ PDQ. States have come out and said, we don't have that data. We don't have that data. That's federal tax returns. We just don't have that data. The data we have is what employers report to us in payroll taxes every month. We don't have federal tax returns that cross-reference with employees. States say they can't do it. And they inherently have actually warned the White House for weeks because they had heard, I've been detailing this 70% junk for weeks. The states apparently reached out to the White House. State unemployment offices reached out to the White House, says, "Don't do this. We can't calculate it. We don't have the information for it." Steve Mnuchin went with it, and the Democrats are now saying, these states are now reaching out to us, says they told you can't do this because they don't know the calculation. They don't have the data. Next, this is even actually worse for the Steve Mnuchin, the Republicans. The state computers can't process this calculation. What Steve Mnuchin is asking the states to do is take some number that is unique to every single applicant. Yes, their 2019 earnings based upon this and based upon that. It's a unique number. To take that number, put it into the computers, and make a calculation, times 70% minus this, and it can't be more than $500. The states don't have those computers at all. They barely even have computers to do the number 600, enter, print. They can barely do $600 as a single line entry number. They can't do mathematical calculations, their computers. They've warned the White House that as well. So what does that mean? That means that, as they have warned, if you give us a task that our computers are not able to do, we won't be able to issue a single payment of unemployment benefits. That path, that narrative, that revelation is so overwhelming and so almost salacious that news reporters are running it across the country and saying Republicans have proposed an unemployment system that they knew that there was no mechanism to run it. They knew there was no computer systems to run it. They knew that ultimately you would be hurt because you're not going to get the benefits. And we're going to go into September. No one's going to get a check. We go into October. We go into the fall election. No one will have received a check. It's with that the Democrats are putting apparently their feet up on the table saying, let's just do $600. Okay. So apparently, this is really, really not going very well for the Republicans right away. The fight over this is actually far worse. And I got to tell you, you see how many videos I do a day. I do a lot of videos. But the broadcast news and the print news and the online news, CNBC and Forbes and Wall Street Journal, all those companies, they are literally running FPUC stories every 15 minutes. They are running it like they're running 20 different versions of FPUC stories, and none of them are good for the Republicans. They're all bad FPUC stories. And this is the latest FPUC story that doesn't help anyone going to the fall election. It says that the persons that are hurt most by the Republican plan are young people, minorities, teenagers, and women. The data shows, and this is by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, this is a federal agency, says that the vast majority of the people that will be hurt the most are that demographic. More than 23% of teenagers in the labor force are out of work. Unemployment of women versus men is 11% versus 10%. and that African Americans are really, really, really hurting badly with unemployment assistance. Then you have the states. We have the demographic issue. Then we have the geographic issue. Southern states generally don't pay a lot of base level unemployment benefits. What's that base level benefits? In California, it's $167 per week. You start on UI, you get at $167. You start on PUA, you start at $167. Some states pay a lot less. Some states pay a lot more. But the states that pay a lot less include swing states for the fall election. And boy, you see where this is going. In those swing states, the margin of spread between Biden and Trump is about 3%, with Biden leading. And these swing states, or battleground states, some are swing states, some are battleground states, really have the lowest amount of unemployment they normally pay their citizens. And so that cutting out FPUC would be literally catastrophic to its citizens. What I'm explaining to you is that, in California you have $167 per week. Going to New England, it's $400 per week. Some states just give a lot of money. Other states don't have a lot of money to spend, and they just give you very, very little, $98 a week. Mississippi, Arizona, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida, and Tennessee cap their maximum benefits at $300 a week. Maximum. Their base level benefits go very, very, very low. Other states like New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Minnesota, Washington, Massachusetts pay upwards of $700 a week. So the issue is that means the federal subsidy would go is very, very needed in states which pay the lowest amount of benefits normally, but also have a high standard of living. Next, when polled across the country, how many people think that FPUC is being pulled back, but that the second stimulus package from the Republicans is a payoff to big business? The vast majority says it is. Many are not seeing this second stimulus package as something to stimulate, I just butchered that word, to stimulate citizens, but to stimulate businesses, whether it's a federal building for $3 billion, whether it's restaurant deductions going out to rent. Restaurants, you get 100% deductions, whether it's extension of PPPs. No one thinks that this bill was done in the interests of citizens. And so that is becoming a headline news story for FPUC as well. Ultimately, where would FPUC likely land? It appears that the Republicans' contention that citizens are their ultimate interests is not coming clear. Especially not coming clear in the case of Mitch McConnell, who said today, again, and it'll probably be again tomorrow, that he's not going to sign anything for a second stimulus package unless his specific pet project is in there. And he literally repeats it like a senile old man, which maybe he is. He wants the liability provision in the second stimulus package, so you can't sue a landlord for COVID-19 related issues unless they intentionally cause you to get COVID-19, which is basically coughing on you. He says, I don't care about all this other stuff. I don't care about unemployment benefits. I don't care about stimulus. I want to protect the employer. Well, you're not protecting the employer. You're not helping the employee. You're doing nothing to ensure that unemployment benefits are continuing. And this is after months of what people have said was the worst schedule they've ever seen in politics of the last couple of years. You know what I'm going to say. They scheduled FPUC to expire while these people were on vacation. These people who created FPUC, created it in the CARES Act, in the first stimulus package, wrote it into law and said that it would expire while they're on vacation. And not a single member of Congress caught that. Or did they know it on purpose? Ultimately, as I said, those broadcast news reporters, CNN, Fox, everyone on both sides of the political party are hammering FPUC to death and saying, you have created a mess of this situation. And it's on top of unemployment systems in every state. They were already a mess. Unemployment in every state have already been a mess with old computer systems and lack of staffing, inability to get numbers out on time, expired benefits when they shouldn't expire, and now you're compounding it by saying, let's have these antiquated systems do more work. No. As Nancy Pelosi says, send the $600 per week. It's a clear number. Let's get it done. Let's get approved. More indications suggest that it's going to be likely approved. If you have questions in today's video, drop them in the comments below. Coming up later today, rent assistance, and in prime time comes Primetime LA Late. Tomorrow morning, join us for Mornings with LA Late, which was a big hit this morning. As always, like and share our videos. Please subscribe and hit the alert button so you get an alert when a new video goes live. As always, stay informed, stay educated, stay smiling, and stay with LA for more.